Hey everybody, me Joe from Futaba USA. Welcome back to another episode of Toledo 2020, The Experience. Now we're going to have, for this segment, we're going to have Hobby RC Manager Nick Maxwell from Futaba and Skylar, who does all of the tech support or some of the tech support at Futaba USA. And we're going to get started with that. So make sure you feel free to make comments so we can answer questions. And we'll be here and we're going to roll. So tell me a little bit, first off, Nick, how you got started in the hobby.
My father flew RC. He was a big pylon racer. So as a young kid, we always did pylon racing and stuff like that. And two different times, once we were at a pylon race and I saw a guy flying a helicopter. And then once there's a local guy at our local club up there in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where I flew at, Ron Goodyear, he had a helicopter. And so in 1998, finally for my birthday, I had asked for a helicopter and I got a Century 30 size. So that's how we got into helicopters.
Wow, very cool. So I'm actually from Chesterfield, Indiana. So I'm from that same neck of the woods. I'm very familiar with right where you're talking about.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. Okay. How about you, Skylar? How'd you get started?
Actually kind of a similar story. My father always, took me out to the local RC field. I was actually born and raised here in Huntsville, Alabama. So, once he got into that and I, following him around on my days, out of school in the summer and just kind of picked it up from there. So.
Awesome. Very cool. So a couple of things that I get a lot of questions on, and I just recently joined Futaba team this last year myself, and I'm super, super, super impressed with my 18SZ. I'm obviously still learning it, but I'm getting there very rapidly. It's really pretty easy to operate. What can you tell us about some of the line that you guys have and some of the stuff that you're going to be working on?
Well, Futaba's kind of got something for everybody. We've got all the very top end stuff. As everybody knows, Futaba's kind of the top of the line brand. And then we've also got stuff down for the RC car bashers, the guys getting into the hobby with airplanes, with like the 6K and 4YF and pretty much everything in between.
Yeah, that's one of the first Futaba radios that I owned. I use on my RC cars and also on my boats. So I use those a lot. So and again, now I'm looking forward to actually when the season can actually start so that I can get out there with the 18SZ and start getting some flights in under my belt with that. So very cool. What's that?
So that's pretty cool transmitter. It's affordable and touchscreen and color, and everybody likes that.
Yeah, I really like it a lot. And I'll be honest with you, I was a little intimidated as most people are switching. And it's really been easy. I've had a couple of questions here and there, but it was stuff that was easy to find the answers to. And I was able to move very quickly through getting stuff set up. One of the big helps for this has been Greg Hahn, he's going to be on our 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time show, and he was one of the guys that really helped me get my feet on the ground and get rolling with it. So it's really quite an easy transition. It's pretty intuitive, it's a lot like most of the radios that are available now. Is that it's pretty easy once you understand how it works. Everything then kind of falls into place, which I like. It's pretty nice. What kind of new products do you guys have in development right now?
Well, Futaba's always developing new stuff. I think a few segments that got kind of stale from Futaba's side were the helicopter, the FPV, various different things like that. So the 32MZ and the helicopter gyro are going to have a new firmware update soon so that the transmitter can talk to the gyro and they can program back and forth. FPV stuff, Skylar can elaborate on that, but it's new receivers that are actually competitive and fit in stuff, programming features. The biggest thing is trying to figure out what everybody wants and trying to put it into our system so that guys can get the functions and all that other stuff. The competitors out there are definitely sometimes faster than Futaba, But by all means, usually once Futaba comes out with something, it's usually pretty perfect when it when it actually hits the market.
Yeah, one of the things that I've become, I guess I would say, painfully aware of, that because of the fact, and this is one of the reasons why I think the Futaba stuff just works, is that there's a lot more time spent in R&D before something's launched out to the public side of things, where you guys fine-tune stuff and get it ready before it actually ships to the market. And then once it ships to the market, you don't have a lot of firmware updates and stuff like that that you have to do because you've done the testing before releasing it. And some of the other competitors out there, I think they release stuff way too quickly, and I don't think they spend the time that Futaba does to make sure that it's right before it gets to the public. So that's how. Yeah. So what can you tell us about some of the FPV stuff, Tyler?
A lot of the new products for the FPV side would be like the R3206 SBM. It's actually one of our first micro receivers. It's about 10 millimeters by 20 millimeters by 5 millimeters. Pretty much you can fit it anywhere in any modern FPV, mini quad from 5-inch down to, your 65 millimeter tiny whoops. And it does a pretty good job, and I mean, gives you the exceptional range that you expect, especially from the Futaba equipment. Another one that we had released was another micro receiver, which was the full range, and it even includes a graphical RSSI output channel. So, with a lot of the modern flight control firmwares from Betaflight to Raceflight or Flight 1, you can, set that up to give you your RSSI value, which, most people may not be familiar with, is pretty much signal strength. Give you a rough estimation or idea, how you're doing in that environment. So a lot of those new receivers that we released, they're doing pretty well, and, they work very, very well.
Very cool. Now, it's obviously the FPV stuff isn't my wheelhouse, but I do some of it. I have a few around here that I use, and I also do a lot of air-to-air photography with FPV equipment. So I'm excited to see the advancements in that, and the better reliability underneath the Futaba brand. I think it's going to do us a lot of good in that regard. That's one of the things that worries you about flying the FPV stuff around these giant scale models, is you want to make sure you don't ever touch them. So having a good signal and having a good hookup between yourself and the aircraft that you're flying is imperative when we get into those situations. So very cool. So what else do we have going on over there?
Trying to think. Really, the new on the surface side, the 7PXR.
Yep.
It's coming out soon. We'll have a kind of a budget new high performance servo for airplanes, an A500. Actually, don't actually know the exact specs of it, but I think it's similar to most like standard high torque servos that are out there now. I have to look that up. Can't really.
Well, there's a lot of products, so I can understand. There's a lot of stuff going on. I get it.
Yeah,
I got on the website, and I was like, when I first started trying to set airplanes up, I was like, okay, oh wow, okay, so there's a lot of stuff here. It took me a minute to figure out what I needed. So that's good.
There's a lot of ways to skin a cat with Futaba equipment. You can
for sure
find multiple things.
Yes, sir. So I do have a question that popped up. Tim Smith says, I have a older Futaba 10 or C10 cap that uses 700 milliamp NiCads. Mm-hmm. Is there a LiPo solution for this transmitter?
Does he know how many cells it is?
It says, it does not say. How many cells does it have on it, Tim? I'm sure he'll answer me back in a second.
Is it like a 9.6 volt?
9.6, yeah.
I'm guessing 9.6. It says it's a 700 milliamp NiCad.
Mm-hmm.
Says it won't, to get it to hold a charge over time is where he's having an issue.
So there isn't necessarily a direct LiPo replacement for that. We do still carry that battery if you were, wanting to use the OEM battery with that. There have been some reports of people using voltage regulators to, drop down the voltage of a LiPo to use it in that radio. But we're going to recommend to use one of the OEM batteries just for safety's sake.
Right. He says it's an 8-cell and it's 9.6 volts.
Mm-hmm.
So your recommendation is to just replace the battery,
Mm-hmm.
the OEM battery.
Yeah, use an OEM or similar battery voltage and capacity.
Very good.
You could find
Hopefully that answers your question.
Battery, that would work.
What's that?
So if you could find a 3S Life battery that fits in the back of it, that would work.
Yeah, Lifey pack. Yeah, that would work too.
Yeah, you just have to find one. I don't know if there's many 3S out there that'll fit in that battery compartment.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with that particular transmitter, so I don't have it here to be able to look at it. But yeah, I would try that for sure, Tim. Perfect. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to point out here is we actually have, I've got loaded up here. Let me see. I got to get the right screen loaded up. Is the Futaba YouTube channel. This is the Futaba USA YouTube channel. Let me get the share screen and get the right tab open here. Want to try to point out all the stuff that's available on the Futaba YouTube channel. There's a lot of how-to videos. There's a lot of programming stuff. I know us here at Boss USA, we're going to have some stuff coming out soon on just basic setups and how everything's working and what to do when you run into certain issues. So there's quite a bit of stuff available on the Futaba website and also on the Futaba USA YouTube channel. I like the pro tips. There's a lot of stuff on here. Do you guys have any plans to come out with new stuff anytime?
Yes, absolutely. As we're building Futaba USA, one of the biggest or toughest positions to fill or find is a graphic designer who can do video and photography and kind of find.
I understand. See, that's my wheelhouse.
But it's looking like we found a pretty good place to actually outsource some videos. So hopefully this spring, once we get some good weather. Right now it's been so crappy, it's hard to get out and do anything. But we'll try to get some more videos.
Right, perfect. Yeah, that's actually I completely understand that because I had the wrong tab open apparently. Let's try that again. No, that's it. Yeah, that's right. It's all good. It might just be lagging a bit, but that's being my wheelhouse. I take care of all the social media, all the video, all the pictures, and run the website and do all that at Boss USA. So I'm very familiar with that piece of the pie. Yeah, I do all of it. So I am extremely busy. So one of the things that we really wanted to make sure we did through all this is we wanted to get out and make sure that people were able to, Kyle says, I was just messing with you. I'm going to get him back. He's going to be on the show tomorrow. One of the things that we are making sure we're trying to do is we're trying to give people a little bit of the Toledo experience without being able to actually attend Toledo, and want to make sure that everybody knows that we're all still here and we're all still functioning as companies inside the hobby. So what are you guys doing at Futaba to maintain during these the times that we're in now?
Well, I will be honest, things are slow. The phones have been a little slow. I think people think that we're closed, so they haven't been calling in for tech support near as much. But our website is still up and going. Shipping is still up and going. So thank you to all those who have ordered and continue to order. We'll be here to ship your order. So if you're at home, you're stuck at home, especially if you can fly at home, make sure that stay stocked up and have your equipment to go fly. Obviously, I realize the government's put on a bunch of different regulations and some of the flying fields have closed down or you can't visit them anymore, but it doesn't hurt to go out there and get a park flyer then and maybe fly at the park or do some, obviously follow the AMA rules. But Skylar and I have been flying behind Futaba here. So whenever we have downtime, we go back up and we've got a little field out here in the back.
Perfect. I like that. Yeah, that's one of the things that we were talking about because I'm also a member of the board at my home field. Mm-hmm. And really, the fields that we are at, in most cases, I think are probably going to be operational only just because we kind of maintain social distancing as modelers all on our own. Yeah. I mean, our flight stations are usually 10, 12 feet apart. as long as we continue to be safe through all that, I can't see many of the fields, like my local field here in Lansing, Michigan, they're saying, that's part of being able to go out. You can enjoy outdoor activities is what it said. So as long as you maintain, I think we're going to be good to go.
Yeah, that's good. I think we've got one in town that closed down, and one in town that was owned by the city, so they might not quite understand. But then all the rest of the flying fields, I think, are still open here. We have 4 here in town.
Wow, very cool. Yeah, we've got one, and the next closest one to that would be probably Walters RC Park, and it's 40 minutes away from here. So, Yeah, you guys have got it. Wow, that's a lot of clubs locally.
Yeah, surprisingly, only one RC track, one RC car track. Yeah. So we've got 3 airplane ones. One, NARCA, the great, really cool field. It's a full-scale airstrip that also is RC. That it's a private airstrip. And then we've got RC, which is the city-owned field, which is pretty popular because they've had pattern airplane events out there. And then we've got Huntsville Heli Flyers, which is a helicopter-only field. And then I don't remember the name, but in Decatur, there's also a flying field. I forget what this is called, though.
Wow. Very nice.
Huntsville's a big engineering town, and so RC here is pretty popular.
Very cool. That's awesome. Now, here's a question. Outside of the hobby industry, what else do you guys work on around there? Is there anything, are you guys solely just the hobby leg of it, or is there other things that you guys work on?
We are solely hobby.
Okay.
So in Huntsville, we do several other things. Contract manufacturing for mostly automotive. So if you were to visit Futaba, you'd see a bunch of factory assembly lines. They're SMT lines. So the parts that these machines pick up this tiny little part and put it on a surface mount part on a board. And then it runs through this big old, I think they're called wave solder machines. And they heat up and melt everything, and then it comes out the other end, this populated board.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. We also do industrial radio control here, which is an aspect that I actually used to, when I first started at Futaba 5 years ago, was hobby radio control and industrial radio control for like the AUVSI. Have you heard of those kind of shows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Drone stuff. Which is mostly very similar product to the hobby stuff, but it goes through a little bit different quality testing, but it's the same actual product that is also distributed from here. And then 2 years ago, we started Hobby Radio Control when Hobbyco went bankrupt. And so now we have a specific division for Hobby Radio Control.
Oh, that's really cool. I find that kind of stuff very interesting. I wasn't sure. That was one of the things I was not sure on is what else that they had going on.
Yeah. Well, there's several people that wear lots of different hats. So there's only 5 of us directly in Hobby Radio Control. Like their title is only hobby. But then we have several different people from around the company. Like we share accounting groups, we share HR groups. Some of our warehouse staff is shared also. So it's a really good team effort around here. We have 108 employees, I think, in Huntsville.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
We just had, what night was it? It was Friday night. We had last night. I can't remember. The days are all mixed together. We had Matt Chapman on there. And we were talking Futaba then as well, and he's another one that's really, really, really happy with the system and how it all works, and very, very appreciative of what we do. I'm going to pull up. I noticed here. Let me see. I see that, and I'm kind of improvising a little bit. I'm trying to pull it up so I can talk about it. Let's see right here. I noticed that they have the Skyleaf airplanes now available. Why don't you tell me a little bit about those?
So those are an ARF out of Futaba, Japan. Basically, they're your standard ARF. They were designed by Futaba employees. In the past, has tended to employ a lot of top pilots here in the United States and in Japan. And so two of the top pilots in the world for airplanes, Honda and Suzuki, work in the factory there, and they've designed these airplanes. Like the big MX is for 3D. The Skyleaf Samba is like a hybrid 3D F3A. The Skyleaf is F3, or the Sky Bipe, or whatever it's called. That is F3A, and then the Leader is F3A airplane. So they're really kind of just high quality ARPs.
Very cool. I like the looks of those. That's neat. This looks like here just like a regular trainer too.
Yeah, that's a regular trainer. They all come with servos, so that's part of the bargain. Is for that price, you also get a servo set and receiver with them.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so the sticker shock, I think a lot of people look at it and go, "Holy cow, that's an air!" But it actually comes with enough servos and everything to outfit the airplane.
That's nice. So typically, oops, I hit the wrong button. Typically, what servos would you recommend? So for our viewers, we're talking normally, scale applications. We got everything from the 6th scale all the way up through the 3rd scale, giant scale stuff. What type of servos would you guys normally recommend for that usage?
I'd say probably the 30 series. So like the 3070, 3072, 3071. 3151. I mean, if you're not running high voltage, we do still have some. I know some guys like to run NiCads, still servos for that. 3176 is kind of like it's a hybrid. It's short, but it's got the same mounting pads. That one's been pretty popular for a lot of the general airplane usage.
Very cool. All right. Well, is there anything else you guys can think of that you wanted to discuss or bring up? You've got anything on the horizon coming, or there? I know it's hard to really speak to any events or anything that we might be attending right now, but is there anything you guys got coming up you wanted to make sure that we highlighted?
Not that I know of. I think biggest thing is if you order off FutabaUSA.com directly, we do offer free shipping over $99. Free shipping for dealers over $300 if you're a dealer out there watching. I mean, biggest thing is we're hobbyists here at Futaba. We love the hobby and want to support all of the people out there that love it just as much as we do. So by all means, if you ever have any questions, or feel free to reach out to Skylar or myself. We'll have a surface guy shortly.
Very cool. I like it. All right. Well, we're coming up on almost a half hour here. Looking to see if we have any more questions. I have a guy, Jim, says, I'm still flying on the old frequency. Do you see a problem with this? Have a 5-channel and an 8-channel.
No, it still works. We don't have service parts for those, though, unfortunately. So if something does go wrong, we can do switches and things like that on most of the transmitters. But everything else is fairly limited. The only thing that I would tend to be a little bit cautious of is if you're flying at a club field. Since everything is 2.4 now, it is not a common thing to check frequencies and make sure that nobody else is on your frequency. So if you see somebody out there, make sure that you communicate well so that you don't have an issue that could be a safety issue if your airplane flies away. Or with 2.4, you just turn it on and go. You don't have to worry so much.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, have you heard anything over as far as with the 72 megahertz stuff? Have you heard anything with the new bands that they're running for the FPV stuff interfering with any of that, or does it seem like it's pretty standard either way? You just got to make sure you don't interfere with what they've got going on.
Yeah, the 72 megahertz stuff shouldn't be affected at all because it's all 5. Wasn't it? What's FPV goggles on?
5.8.
Yeah, 5.8.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Perfect. Yeah, Kyle said that right now, there's not a whole lot of people out there still flying 72 megahertz. I will tell you that we get a lot of guys at my field still that come out there with their fly rods and fly. So just make sure, like Nick said, you make sure you pay attention to who's out there. If you see somebody else with the whip antenna, make sure you're checking with your frequency boards so that you don't have any issues. The 2.4 stuff and the 5.8 stuff should not interfere with it at all, Jim. So you should be good to go. But keep an eye out for those whip antennas. If you see those whip antennas coming out, you want to make sure you check the frequency board. So that's something that's been kind of forgotten over the years. And actually our club has had the discussion of whether or not to even take it down, but we still have folks every once in a while show up with the frequency pins and pull the pins. So I think it's a good idea just to make sure you check. Other than that, I think you should be good to go.
One thing we recommend is if you are an avid flyer, if you upgrade to 2.4, everything just kind of works a little better because you don't have to worry about bad bearings and things like that that'll lock out 72 megahertz. So if you'd like something a little less headache free, by all means, now's the time to update to 2.4 if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of affordable options at Futaba for sure. If it's a money issue, I know some of the higher end radios can be a little bit sticker shockish. But there's several, and I'm trying to pull it up here while I'm talking. So there's several available through Futaba that are going to be rock solid radios that are more of what people would consider to be entry level, or I should say, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm looking for affordable options. So if I look down here, I think I've got it. I'm going to make sure I'm up. Yeah, I'm up. So you still, at this point, you've got a lot of options. You got the 6K, you've got the 6L, 6J, 8J. There's a lot of options out there for you, depending on what your budget is and depending on what you're looking to spend on the transmitter. So for right now, you could update to a 2.4 transmitter fairly easily and fairly inexpensively, if that's something you're looking to do.
We also have pretty price-friendly receivers as well. All the transmitters come with one, so to get you started. But SFHSS, if you're looking for something, because you have to change all your receivers over, definitely look into that.
Absolutely. If that's something that's in your future, Jim, that'd be the place to check. And I'll be honest with you, from my personal perspective, Futaba just plain works. So if you want something that's going to be solid and you're not going to have a lot of issues with it or problems with it, then the Futaba is definitely the way to go for sure. And that's speaking from experience of trying all the different models. So I'm just letting you know, Futaba just plain works right out of the box. All right. Well, that's about 30 minutes for us. I want to thank Nick and Skylar very much for joining us on today's episode. Stay tuned for the 6 p.m. slot. We're going to have fellow Futaba team pilot Gregory Obihan Benobi. He's going to be on here and show us some of his shop stuff. And he is going to be able to talk about Futaba and all the stuff he's got going on. I happen to know Greg right now is working on a couple of fantastic 1/3 scale Albatross bills, one of which is going in my trailer. I'm super excited about. So you're not going to want to miss that. And I want to thank Nick and Skylar for joining us. And make sure you guys keep in mind that right now on the Boss USA website, we are running the Toledo 2020 Keep Calm and Build On sale. You're going to be able to get show pricing all weekend long on all kit packages. I want to make sure that's clear. We are only discounting the kit packages and the accessories that we would carry with us to shows. So again, enter in coupon code, all caps, Toledo 2020 in your code on your cart, and you will be applied that discount. And you also will be entered in to win a 1/3 scale, fully laser cut, all new redesigned Boss USA pup kit. So again, thanks guys for being here. I really appreciate you, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Thank you very much for watching, and happy building.